Oh, welcome to Players and Creators. I am the DM, uh, and today what I'm going to do is, as you can see from today's topic, best ways to run a tabletop online game. But I want to basically, let you know that this is actually what I'm probably going to be starting to do a series of. Basically, things that I wish I knew going into not just DMing, but basically DMing in a time where everybody has got to do everything online at this point. So, especially gaming and tabletop. So, I definitely want to share what I wish I was told, or the things that I wish there was kind of a resource where I could do this. A lot of this was put together through trial and error. A lot of this was put together through just me doing, I hate to say the word research, not so much research. I think it's more Google foo, as it were. Just, going online, searching for resources, asking people that I knew were in the community, but might, just pulling all of these pieces, bits and pieces here and there, and kind of putting them together. So I figured, hey, why the hell not? Let me share those resources, because I wish somebody did that with me and it was all in one place. A lot of what I'm going to discuss here today, and the websites and the online resources and things like that, I'm going to put all of those links onto our Discord. So if you miss any of the things that I was talking about, and you're not sure, you didn't catch what it was, all of that will be on our Discord. In the resources, you can go into the resource room essentially and find all that stuff. We're slowly adding everything that I've used or I'm currently using as a DM, or I may not necessarily be using it. I might say, hey, here are some alternatives. I don't necessarily use it, but I think these are great ideas and maybe you might want to use them. So you go, as I said, it'll be in our Discord. All of the things that we're going to talk about today, and then some. There might be some stuff in there that I don't discuss, but I find and say, oh, this needs to go in the resource room. We'll be there for you. So essentially, that's what we're going to do today. We're going to talk about best online practices, best ways to do this. This is also assuming that you have already overcome the issue of finding players. Because any DM will tell you that The first and most horrendous obstacle, if you want to use that, is actually finding a dedicated group of players who can meet on the regular and actually show up at the times they say they're going to show up. So this is assuming you have already reached and jumped that hurdle and you have an amazing group of players already who are doing all of that stuff. Now comes the next step. All right. And if you are DM, and again, a lot of these resources are coming from the DM or dungeon master perspective, someone who's running a game essentially. In this day and age where we are all sequestered and quarantining and all of that stuff, we are all finding in not only in our daily lives, our professional lives, our personal lives, now our gaming lives, that these resources are going to be things that we use even after all of this craziness is done. Even after we're done with the quarantine, we don't have to stay away from each other anymore to keep each other safe. We're gonna be using a lot of these resources continuously down the line. So it's gonna be in our best interest again to figure out not only how to do it, but figure out the best ways for us, ways that are most comfortable, the ways that are going to help not just ourselves, but our players in this instance. All right. So the first part of what I'm going to discuss today is the video part. This part right here. How do I do that? You might be asking yourself. And there's a number of different options. And I will say this as well. This is not necessarily for resource. You can use a lot of the resources I'm going to discuss for streaming purposes if this is what you're looking to do. But today what we're talking about is not necessarily for streaming. It's just you want to run a game for someone. That's really what this is about. This is between you and your players. This is what this discussion is really going to be about. So you have a couple of options ahead of you. And again, most of these you might already know, but some of them come with limitations. Some of them are better than others, in my opinion, my personal opinion. So we'll just get right into it. So video, how am I going to run it? Now, if you're running a campaign or a tabletop game with anywhere between 4 to 5 players, or if you're crazy like me, you've got 7 players, there's plenty of options. Now, the one thing that probably everybody's heard at this point and just kind of blew up as soon as the pandemic hit and everybody started quarantining and starting to work remotely is Zoom. Okay, I'm gonna briefly touch on Zoom. Now, again, I'm not an expert on any of these things by any means. I'm not an expert at all. I'm just talking from my experience and things that I've read and things that I've seen, conversations I've had with people, both personally and professionally. And what it looks like we have, as far as Zoom is concerned, Zoom is a great way to run a game if that's what you're looking for. Now, the free version of Zoom only gives you an hour. So in order to do more than an hour worth of gaming using Zoom, you will have to use a subscription. And you will have to pay for a subscription. And the subscription has its perks. Obviously you're able to run longer than an hour at that point. I think like a first tier subscription or something like that is you can run with like 50 people up to a few hours. And again, if you research Zoom, and again, a lot of these links are going to go on our Discord. If you go onto Zoom, you'll find all the options there. But if you're looking for a free alternative, Zoom is probably not going to be your best bet. unless you're doing some kind of freeform game, tabletop game where you only need an hour. Maybe you need less. I don't know. I've personally have not heard of games that run under an hour. You have to always leave. You always have to leave options open for things that are not going to run exactly on schedule. So, but if you've got the income to do it and the money to do it, Zoom is a good option for you. But the free version, you only get an hour. Um, the thing that I actually used before what I'm currently using was Google Hangouts. Now, occasionally there were some instances, and this was right in the beginning of when the pandemic kind of hit, like around February and March. Occasionally, some of my players would not be able to make it to the table, but they could make it remotely. And so we started using Google Hangouts. And Google Hangouts is a good option. It's if it depends on the type of game that you're running, how you want to do things with your players. Google Hangouts is a very good option. It's free and you can spend as much time on it as you want. And that is how I got started, was with Google Hangouts. As the pandemic started to kind of, I guess, I hate to use this word, but to kick off essentially, and nobody could be at the table, we started using Google Hangouts exclusively. This was a little frustrating for me in the sense that I was the type of DM that I would give handouts. I would give out actual item cards for things that my players found in game. I like to have little props up, and obviously the battle map, and was right there at the table, and everybody could see it, and everybody had a great time. So once we started getting to the point where nobody could be here and nobody could be at the table, it was a little frustrating. A little frustrating to be very honest. But understanding those limitations, understanding that that we didn't want to put each other at any kind of risk, just started using Google Hangouts exclusive. I did try. One of the things I tried to do was I would either whisper to my players if something was going on that I didn't want anybody else to hear, or I would pass them notes. Did try texting. While doing this, I found that it tended to slow the progress down a little bit. Being that we were now 100% online, video. So it was frustrating, but and the initial for the initial thing that we were doing, it was a really good thing to start with. So now we're using Google Hangouts, and again, that's a good thing to use. Some people might say Skype is a good thing to use. There are people who have used Skype and have found that to be very helpful. And the majority of tabletop games and GMs, game masters who have been running tabletop games on Skype, and again, from what I've seen, and from what I've going on Google and doing research and talking with people, it seems to be good mainly for about 2 to 3 players plus, so about 4 people in total. Anything other than that, for whatever reason, and Skype has been around for a long time, and they are really good at what they do. But for whatever reason, there are lag issues that happen, and that's probably on the end of the players, or the end, or the DM, your router, your internet service, what have you. So Skype can be used. Skype is totally an option. But the option that I've been using so far, has been Discord. Discord, again, something that's been around for many, many years. I've used it a number of times in the past, mainly when I was a World of Warcraft player. Um, and then when I started doing podcasts, I used to do interviews over Discord, and so I found that to be a really good option. And they weren't video interviews; they were all audios. I found it to be pretty good, but I always I always had an issue with it, and it was just more technical. It was just more on my end than anything else. But when I was looking for better options than Google Hangouts, Discord was one of the ways that I went. And just, I had to sit down and I had to learn it a little bit and figure out all the stuff since I had been on it the last time, which had been maybe about two and a half years, something like that. So this is a learning curve. Um, but it was, so far, that has been really, really good. Hey, Southern Twist. Yeah, no, that's good. That's good. Yeah, you've been lucky. You haven't had to use an online tool for RPG. So yeah, it's definitely a learning curve. It's definitely something that you really got to sit down and play with in advance of actually starting a game. The last thing you want to do, obviously, is be playing with settings and figuring things out as you're playing with your players. Can get really it can get really interesting, to say the least. And I'll get into why that is, because I still have to do that as I play with my players. Um, so yeah, Discord has been really, really good. I'm actually going to talk about some other options that will. I'm just kind of gonna. I'll jump a little bit back and forth, but as far as video, like the main video ways to do it, this has been kind of like, those are kind of like the top suggestions that I guess I would say for anybody who's looking into do it. And again, my suggestion would be just explore all the options. Um, Explore what's going on, see what fits your play style the best, and that you think is going to interfere the least with what you're trying to do. Trust me when I say that everything you do should be with a little bit of practice. Um, you're good. I hate to sound cliche. Practice does make perfect, especially when it comes to trying to make sure things run smoothly. As far as I'm concerned, for myself personally, when I try to when I do this, when I practice ahead of time, it's not so much I want this to run smoothly and I don't want anything to go wrong during my game, and this is why I'm practicing. That's part of it, but the other part of it is so I'm more comfortable with what's going on with my players, what I'm going. So if something does go wrong, which will happen, something inevitably will happen, I'll be more inclined to understand why it happened and then readjust, rather than I want to make sure everything goes smoothly and nothing goes wrong. Something will inevitably go wrong. Um, yeah, so new game and new tech, Southern. Yeah, that goes. Uh, yeah, that's actually a really good point, Southern, because one of the things that I had to do when I got into Discord was to kind of give prep time to my players as well. And we basically we had to meet on Discord a number of times before we actually ran the game, so everyone was familiar with the technology. They were very familiar with how Discord actually runs. And there's some bumps along the road, of course, and it still happens even now, and I have no doubt that it will continue to happen down the line. But yeah, it's new tech and new players who are not familiar with it. You're basically, I mean, one of the things I try to do with most of the things, whether it's gaming or personally or professionally, is I try to learn something as as much as I can. And then use that experience and use that knowledge to train my players, or whoever else is looking to use the technology. Because yeah, again, it's one of the things that we're trying to do with players and creators, is we want to give back to the gaming community. And one of the ways we want to do that is supporting each other. The best way to support each other is just and lift each other up is to help each other with it. And again, this I'm talking, yes, this is about online gaming, but I'm talking personally. I'm talking professionally. We want to lift each other up. That's one of the best things you is just kind of share that knowledge, share what you know, in an effort to help somebody do what they're passionate about, do what they want to do. Because you never know. I mean, somebody. I wish most people would do that, and unfortunate truth is that's not a reality. So we have to kind of make that happen. Um, so that's kind of what I believe in that sense. And yes, I am smoking hookah. I love hookah, um, and that's what I'm doing. So yeah, that's as far as the tech goes, and yeah, if you're not familiar with it, learn it. If you figured it out and you've got a pretty good handle on it, train your players and make sure they know before you actually start playing. There's nothing worse than starting a game and then people just dropping off, and once they drop off, you're waiting for them to come back, and again, it kind of depending on the type of game you're playing, it ruins the immersion. It ruins it. But I find also sometimes that some of these kind of like quirks and twists that happen bring you all closer together, because you don't have to be an expert on all of these, but and then your players will also feel like, oh, okay, my DM is not my DM is not amazing at this. Also, he's just like me. Kind of building, you start building rapport, especially if it's not friends, right? I know a lot of dungeon masters and game masters who are now, as part of trying to actually supplement their incomes, they are running games professionally, paid dungeon masters, paid game masters, and so in that instance, you are now playing with strangers. These are not people that are friends. These are not family, and that can be one nerve wracking. Um, but more often, you don't know what that person's level is of how do they know the technology? Do they know what's going on? So you can't take that for granted. So if you start running games like that, if you're running games for complete strangers, then you absolutely want to make sure, hey, let's meet up a couple of times. Let's figure out how we can best run this tech together, so we can have the best game. You really want to you kind of want to put that forward to those folks. So yeah, it's again, it's something to really think about. Um, any of the video options that I just laid out definitely is definitely going to be different for somebody. My preference right now is Discord. Other people have other preferences. There's going to be one thing that we're going to talk about down the line, and that's going to be Roll20, and that's something similar, but we'll get to that. It is a video way to do it, but it adds another element to it, which is why I didn't add it to this option. But we're going to talk about it today. Um, but yeah, it's figure out what works best for you. Learn as much as you can about it. Get your players on board um, with the tech. Help them navigate it, and then you can move forward from there. Trust me, especially nowadays. Even if you don't have your players yet, figure it out ahead of time. Say, hey, this is how we're going to be playing games from now on, and I've got a pretty good handle on it. Uh, let's see. Yeah. Hey, Southern. You and I same age. Okay, you and I are the same age. I'm 45, right? And I do the same thing. All right. I talk. When I talk about something that I love and that I'm passionate about. Sometimes I go a mile a minute, and then after I've actually done it, I realize like, oh, this person probably doesn't want to hear what I have to say. You'd be very surprised. One of the things, and I'll say it again, really don't want to take certain things for granted. There's nothing wrong with you being passionate about the things you love and enjoy. That's why one of the reasons I'm doing what I'm doing right now. I am so passionate about this, but I'm also passionate about empowering people. I'm also passionate about making sure that people don't feel like there is nothing they can do. One of the things that I hate the most, and it's not about the person. What I hate the most is that feeling of, well, this is the way it is, and there's nothing I can do about it. That drives me nuts because it's not. It is something that has been perpetuated in our society, in many societies, and that is simply not true. So when I do something like this, what I'm doing right now, when I do something in my work, and I'm passionate about something, I want to make sure that when we're talking about problems, we're talking about solutions. And in those solutions, we are trying to work out the best way it will work for that person. Because the way that works for me is not going to work for somebody else. If my players, if I chose Discord and I said, "Oh, this is great for me," and my players were like, "Oh, we hate Discord," I would have absolutely switched what I was using to find something that worked for everybody, right? Because I don't want them to feel like I'm forcing this on them. Because if they already have that mentality of, "Oh, well, this is the way it is, I'm not going to say anything, or I'm not going to do anything. There's nothing I can do about it." I don't want to perpetuate that. I don't want to be that person, right? So that's one of the things in everything I do. Again, personally and professionally, that is one of the things I try to do. I don't always succeed. I'm a person just like everybody else, but that's what I try to do. I really try to empower people. And again, whether it comes to gaming, whether it comes to personal life or professional, that's what I try to do. So I kind of went off the rails a little bit with that, but Southern, you got me all passionate about my passion. And I wanted to make sure there's nothing wrong with that. If someone tells you, "Oh, you're going a little overboard, you're going too overboard," it might just be your delivery, not your passion. Okay, and that's okay. You can learn to change your delivery. You can figure out a way to make that passion come across a different way, but don't lose that passion. That is the worst thing you could do. And if somebody told you that, I'd fight them. Just give me names, numbers, I'll fight them, addresses, right? So yeah, so all right, so that's so that's talking about video options. Yeah, sometimes that's true, Southern. That's true. Sometimes it is the wrong person to talk to about it. But here's the thing. You won't know if they're the wrong person to talk about it unless you either already know them or you're getting to know them. So the best way to figure that out is to have that conversation with them. After that conversation, yeah, you'll probably figure out, maybe I shouldn't, maybe it's not the right person or whatever. But if you don't know, go for it. Again, it's one of the things, that's one of the things that I actually try to do, in all parts of my life. That was a quick hookah break right there. So, all right. So that was, those are the video options, right? Google Hangouts, Zoom, Skype, Discord, and there's good things about them. There's bad things about them. It's really going to be on you to figure out, as a dungeon master or a game master, uh, which one is going to fit your personality, which one's going to fit your knowledge, you know, uh, which one you think is going to be best for the game overall. That kind of thing. And again, these are all going to go up on our Discord, so you can actually get. And again, everything I'm saying, you can just jump on Google and find them. But like I said, I wish somebody had put all of these resources in a single place that I can kind of look through. So that's what we're gonna do. So the next thing, now you have your players, right? You've got your players. You've figured out what your online platform is going to be. It's going to be Discord. It's going to be Zoom. It's going to be Google Hangouts. You've figured it out. You've met with your players a couple of times before the games actually started, and just with the particular purpose of getting them used to the technology, right? Like, okay, so this is what we're going to do, and this is how you download it, and you're talking to each other, and you're going back and forth, and you've worked it out. You're there. All right, now you come to the game part. Right? This is my favorite. This is my favorite part. I like this part of it. So now you want to figure out how you want to do certain things. Okay, so most tabletop games have some form of dice rolling mechanic, right? And with this dice rolling mechanic, depending on what it is, some games, obviously like D&D, they use the polyhedral dice, D20s, D10s, D12s, runs the whole gamut, right? There are some tabletop games that just simply use D6s. There are a couple of vampire tabletop games only use D10s. So you want to try and figure out the best method for your players, right? My players and myself, we kind of use a combination of actually rolling the dice physically in front of ourselves and using online dice. This again is going to be dependent on a couple of factors. Are these friends and family, people that you trust and you know that you're gonna have a good time rolling dice one way or another? Or are these complete strangers that you're running a game for? You're running a game professionally, as a professional game master or dungeon master. What do I do? So there are a couple of things that you can do. And now this is where we're going to go to our visual aids. So let's see. All right. So I got a couple of things already lined up to talk about, but we're going to talk about the dice first. So this is one I haven't used this one yet, but I'm liking what I see so far about it. And this one is called Roll Dice with Friends. Now, what's really cool about this is, and I would probably say this is going to be more for the group of people that are probably strangers. The DM is running a game for strangers, right? Or the reason why it's one of the sites that I've actually been contemplating is you're playing a game and you're streaming it. And if you want to do that, this actually gives you the option, and I'm gonna actually go through it right now. So you go to rolldicewithfriends.com. I mean, pretty simple. And this is the page that comes up immediately. And it says right here, room name. Now, let's see, we're going to call this room name Boom Boom Room, right? We'll just call it Boom Boom Room. And you click Roll Dice with Friends, right? Now, you are able to, if you go up here, you get rolldicewithfriends.com/rooms/boom boom room. You send that link to everybody who's playing. They are now all in the room. And when someone rolls dice, and this is, right here, you see, I've already put my name in, the DM. Let me see if I can actually. Oh no, I did the wrong thing. Here we go. Yeah, there we go. There we go. That's what I wanted. So you can see I already put my name in the DM. Now your players will act the players who are all in this room. They'll put their name in, and whenever they roll the dice, I will right now roll a d20. I hit roll it, and it says the DM and what my total is. Right now, granted, if I'm playing D&D, I will you'll see what my roll was, but then I have my plus to hit, plus to attack, blah blah blah, whatever. But your players, when they roll, it will come up this. It'll say their name here and what they rolled, depending on what dice they're rolling. So if you're streaming, you can actually capture this window right here, and everybody would be able to see that this is what everybody's rolling in the game. And again, if you're playing with a group of strangers, people that you don't know, this is a good way to keep people honest. If you're not sure, how they roll dice, how they play the game to begin with. But it's also, I think it's a lot of fun. And again, like I said, it's one of the things I'm considering for streaming, because I want it to be another level of engagement, of interactivity with anybody who's watching the game, that they can see the dice rolls rather than just kind of hear them. So again, not sure if I'm going to be using it, but this is absolutely a great resource if that's something you're interested in. Now, if you don't have, say you're a first time player, or you have a player who's a noob, like you were talking about, Southern, and they don't necessarily have a lot of dice, or maybe they don't have dice to begin with, which is crazy. Like a psychopath, I've never heard of anybody coming to a tabletop game without dice, but should that happen, you can actually go to actually the wizards.com, Wizards of the Coast. They have a dice roller right there on their site. Um, and with this one, how many dice you put in, you can add your modifier right here, and you get the results. Now, with this is for you personally. This is not something you're not going to be able to see everybody's rolls. You're just going to be able to see your own roll. But it's a resource. It's something that you can do. So, like for example, if I decided that I didn't want everybody on the stream to see my players' rolls, but I had no problem with them seeing my rolls, I might actually put this in the window, and have people, and that way people can see what I'm rolling. Or again, just a resource, something that somebody can use. Um, these are really good. These are really good resources. There's a lot of different things. There is also, for those, and we're actually going to get into this little thing, into more detail, is actually D&D Beyond itself. D&D Beyond, for anybody who's not familiar, is this great online resource where they do work with Wizards of the Coast. They are in kind of a partnership, I guess. I'm not entirely sure what the business model here for this is, but they absolutely work with Wizards of the Coast, and you are able to, let's see, just pull up a character. Um, hey, look, it's Droop. Um, any of my players from from my last campaign will know exactly who Droop is. This was basically this is basically a goblin that they found in one of their campaigns that they kind of adopted. So this is Droop's character sheet. So I'm gonna get into the character sheet and all that stuff in a bit, but we're talking about dice at the moment. Um, they do if you do pay a subscription fee or are part of the website. Right here on the side, you see this little D20 icon. You click it. Oh my God, there's dice. Uh, so yeah, you got your D10, your D20, right? You pick a D20, you hit, you hit roll, and look at that. It tells you what your roll is. Ty, man, thank you so much, Ty, for the subscriber 2 months. That's awesome, man. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Awesome. That's all awesome of you. Thank you. But yeah, getting back to the dice. So yeah, D&D Beyond itself has its own dice. So that's also another option. Can't necessarily see this on the stream, but if you are a DM and you're using D&D Beyond, and your players are using it as well, they will have this option. They will have the option to actually roll these dice online. Okay. So yeah, that's as far as dice are concerned and those kind of mechanics. Again, some options for you. I'm sure I when I was googling all this, there are so many different sites that have so many options of the type of dice and how many dice, and some are high graphics like you just saw with D&D Beyond. Some of them are not. You have options. I'm just throwing out a few right here. Okay. Uh, Today's flavor is cherry, by the way. Is the same flavor as yesterday during my old man plays old game stream. Still good, still good. Okay, so moving on. So yeah, so now you have these dice. You have these dice options. You have some options for your players to use different things, and again, um, they can use the live dice in front of them, and you can do a combo. It's really, again, up to you as a DM if you're DMing. Just talk with your players, figure out what everybody wants to do, make sure everybody's happy about it, and go do it. So here, that's some options. Now we're already on it, so we're gonna continue with this little. I keep saying little. It's not little. It's freaking. It's a juggernaut. D&D Beyond. All right, so I'm just gonna take us back to the main page real quick. Um, and so with D&D Beyond. All right, so D&D Beyond. Um, if you're running a campaign as a dungeon master, um, and you can and it's within your ability to pay for a subscription. Currently the subscription I'm paying for right now is $5 a month, or six, I believe. It's something along those lines. And uh, you now have the ability, once you are DMing, to yeah, I go back into my characters. um, you see that it says unlimited. You can now make unlimited characters in here, which is amazing, right? That's one of the things that you could do. As you saw, as I showed you before, you get access to rolling the dice, the online dice, um, and that's one of the things. Now, the other thing about this, though, while it is an amazing tool, and by amazing, what I mean, and I'll go right into it, is when you create a character, all of that stuff is taken care of for you. So again, I'll go right back into Droop, right? Um, it's all, not only is your character sheet like amazingly detailed and organized for you, right? When you roll, I mean, look, it tells you your plus to hit, it's all of that good stuff, right? Your spells, your equipment, right? Features and traits. I mean, it's just, I remember when I started playing D&D, and it was just, it's pencil and paper and writing everything down. Now, I will say, while this is an amazing tool, I am a huge advocate of writing everything down. So you absolutely want to write as much as you can down, um, but still utilize this. I always tell my players, you should, if you can, print up your character sheet and have it next to you, because the internet can always go down. The site itself could always go down, right? So there's lots of different things you can do, but I really love it because it's just right there in your face. It tells you all the things. I mean, look at this. Just what your acrobatics is. And here's the good thing. If you do have the dice activated, all you got to do is click on it and it will roll it for you. I mean, it just makes things run a little smoother. Uh, it's not necessarily a downside. It is more of an expensive side. Is in order for all of these things to actually be included on your character sheet, is you actually have to go and let's see, sources. We'll go to sources and we'll start with the player's handbook, right? Now, for D&D 5th edition, player's handbook is the thing that every one of your players should have access to, right? As a DM who is running a campaign through D&D Beyond, since I own the player's handbook on D&D Beyond, anyone in my campaign has access to this, which is fantastic, right? So they could actually go into D&D Beyond and access any of this information, right? But guess what? I had to pay for the player's handbook in D&D Beyond. So the more books you have and you have to purchase on D&D Beyond, it can get a little expensive. One of the great things I like that D&D Beyond does is sometimes you don't want the whole book. Sometimes you want a feat or a new magic item that is in one of the new books, right? But you don't want the whole book. You just want that item. You can actually you can actually buy those particular things at a much cheaper rate, right? And if you actually decide to use the book later, whatever you to buy the book later, whatever you paid for from that book is deducted from the cost. Right? So it's still great in that sense where you can kind of like it's almost like an a la carte buffet where you can kind of pick and choose all of these things. But again, if your player wants something specifically to be have a feat or to be a specific race or a specific class that is in a book that you do not currently own as a DM, then they won't have access to it in their character sheet. So it's and again, if you go on the site, you could find all they've done so many videos. They have a YouTube page. They are on Twitch as well. You can find a lot of what I'm talking about. Like they'll go into specific things, but I'm just kind of giving a general overall of what D&D Beyond is. I will say, if you are a player and your DM does use D&D Beyond, it'd probably be helpful. Show some love to your DM and kind of maybe kick a buck or two here to help with either the subscription for the monthly subscription or whatever books that you probably the DM might need to run your campaign. Because it can again not everybody can afford these resources. Um, but this is definitely I will say this is one of the better resources for D&D that I've seen in many years. That's pretty damn cool. So yeah, so that's D&D Beyond. Now, the next thing before we continue, quick hookah break there. Um, that's the other thing about hookahs is have to tend to them. Um, so I'm doing every now and then you'll see me kind of lean over. I'm kind of doing a little tending, moving the charcoal around. And if anybody ever cared about like hookah maintenance and any of that crap, maybe I would do a stream on that. But anyway, so if you see me moving around, that's kind of what I'm doing. Now, moving on. I've actually briefly mentioned it before, and talk about Roll20 real quick. Now, Roll20 is another resource. This one is also free, which is great, but it's free up to a point. depending on the campaign you're running. They show, I mean, right there on the front page, really gives you a great idea of what Roll20. You can create your own maps. You can put your tokens on the board. You can show, as you can see, you can show the rolls right there on the screen. It does have the ability for video, so you can, much like with Discord, just get in there. As you can see here, though, everybody will be right there on the map. You also will have, and again, this is more of a paid option, but depending on the game that you're playing, you can have the option for showing stats for what folks are playing, or what, or if you're DMing, you have those stats right up there, which D&D Beyond also does. D&D Beyond does do this map. They do not have the video option here. Pretty cool. Um, I and so yeah, so you can sign up, you can choose a game. Um, these are all the different games that it supports. So you can actually find ready-made maps for certain campaigns in Dungeons and Dragons, in Pathfinder, Call of Cthulhu. It's really, again, a lot of games are supported by Roll20. Um, Customizable. Again, you can create put everybody's character sheets on. If you have or do your own artwork, you can actually do this stuff on Roll20, add it to it. If you are a programmer, it says programmable scripts. I can't do any of that crap. But there's so many different amazing things you can do at Roll20. Yeah, they talk about like building community, which is something that you should always be trying to do. And there's always lots of different things you can. Yeah, here's another really great. Let me see if I can blow that up just a little bit. So yeah, you can kind of see this is a different game, but you can see what they're fighting, character sheets, what's going on in the map. One of the cool things that I like about the maps on Roll20 is that they do have that kind of video game black fog of war that only kind of opens up as you move the character through. Um, yeah, click to roll dice, video and voice chat, interactive character sheet. Again, really great stuff. And then on the website, yeah, you're gonna find a lot of support for this. Now, I did try. This was one of the options I actually considered when we had to go online. We had to do everything online. And I'll be very honest. Um, I am not the most tech-minded person in the world, and everything new I have to learn winds up. I guess what's the best way to put this? So I have to take something out of the mind palace and and probably destroy it to add the new information. I try not to do that, but as I get older, I that tends to happen. Oh wow, Sensei Suplex, thank you so much for the raid. Super appreciate it. Super appreciate it. Thank you everybody. Welcome everybody. Welcome. Yeah, so right now we're actually talking about thank you for the follow, Bemroth. Thank you. Yeah, right now we're talking about some options that folks can use for tabletop gaming online, especially since we're in that day and age right now where it's something that everybody needs to do. So, but thank you so much for the raid, everybody. Appreciate it, Sensei. Thank you so much. So yeah, right now we're talking about Roll20, and I had that, like I said, one of the things I considered was Roll20. And I'm not tech minded. I tried making my own. I tried making my own maps. I tried figuring it out. There's a learning curve on it that I didn't have. Wow, this is great, everybody. Thank you so much for the follows. Like this is amazing. Thank you so much. Look at this. Look at this. Stormfox87, Max Fish, Potato Joseph, Synthetic Ducky, One, I love your names. Like your handles are freaking great. I love it. But thank you guys so much for the follow. Oh, this is amazing. Thank you everyone so much. Thank you so much. So, all right, so that's kind of roll 20. That is an option if that's something that you're looking to do. If you're more tech minded, if you're younger than this old man, that's probably the thing that you want to do. You can actually you try roll 20. It's a good option for you. Um, so yeah, so with that, let's see, take a drag real quick. Oh, that was good. All right, so yeah, so the next one we have here, now, okay, so now you've picked your platform, right? You've decided, oh, we're gonna use Discord. I'm just gonna some hypotheticals here, right? I'm gonna use Discord. That's gonna be for our game, and you know what? I'm gonna use D&D Beyond, and this is gonna be really cool. This is gonna be really great. Um, and you know what? We're going to use some dice rollers. We're going to do this. We're slowly setting up our game now, right? We have our game. We have the tech issues kind of figured out, working with the groups. You figured out how you're going to use it. You're going to use Roll20 maybe, whatever it is. Now you're there, right? Now, if you're like me, as I said earlier, one of the things that I loved to do during my when everybody was sitting at the table was giving people handouts, right? A little bit of ambiance. I had music going in the background. Can't do that online, right? So how do you augment that? How do you figure out one of the best things that you can do? Thank you, Night Raven. Thank you for the follow. Appreciate it. How do you um, how do you now figure out to the ambiance? How do you get your players in the mood to kind of feel really immersed in this game, right? So obviously, I mean, dungeon masters everywhere have always tried to figure out different things. I will tell you what I do, right? So what I like to do, I'll show you what I did when I was at the table because I'm not gonna lie, this is a resource that many people should be using for their tabletop games. I don't know how many are, but this resource is actually pretty amazing. If you're not using it already and you don't know about it, tabletop audio. I will tell you, support support these people on their Patreon. I don't remember his name, the man the individual who created this. He has a Patreon. Support his Patreon. He does all of this for free. He puts together like ambiance and music. Okay, and these things are great. Now, this is not particularly for streaming. This is more for your personal games. Um, these for your if you're doing your personal games, this is an amazing thing to add to your game for your players, right? There's a and with this, and this is one of the cool things you can do with it. When you actually put together the song or the different things, you can actually let me see if I can find it here. Um, let's see. I don't want to play it because I don't have the rights to play any of this stuff. Take my word for it. These things are it's amazing. Some of these things are amazing. Let's see, let's go to the sound pad. I believe it's on the sound pad. Yeah, custom sounds and pads. Uh, yeah, so here's one of the things you can do. You can go to there's your sound menu, right? And you can put together your own soundscape, essentially, right? Where it's got a little bit of, say, for example, it's the forest, right? You can have crickets going in the background, you can have birds chirping, you can add a little bit of music in the background, and you can decide how you want to play it. You want to play it all together? Do you want the crickets to be louder? It's great. Um, I don't think I'm doing it this service because I will tell you, I don't know exactly where it is, but I will tell you that there is a way that once you actually put all of this together, you can actually send a link to your players, and then they can open it up in their web browser, and they can hear what you're doing. Right? It's really cool. Um, thanks for the Sub Zero. Appreciate it. Thank you for the gifts. Appreciate that. Um, so yeah, it's you. So in this way, and then your players don't have to use it, right? But if they do, it's a way for them to be fully immersed. Um, for yeah, and again, it's just you'll go to again, and it's tabletop audio. If you can use it again, it's all free. If you can support them on their Patreon. Um, I wish I could find the thing show. Trust me, it's there. I've seen it. I've used it. It's there. I just at this point I don't know where it is. But yeah, it's you send the link once you have everything set. You send the link to your players. They open it up, and when you play something, they hear it. It's great. It's amazing. Um, but if you are not able to use it, say it's not this is not something that you would want to use for your personal game. I'll tell you what I use for our stream. Now, for anybody who streams and anybody who's keeping up with it, you all know about the crazy DMCA stuff that's going on right now. And using copyrighted music, using copyrighted songs, big problems right now with Twitch. Um, I used to be a podcaster, and so my mentality was always trying to use copyright free, royalty free, commercial use things in everything I did, to begin with. So what we currently do for our stream, and this might be an option for you too. If you use Discord, we use Groovy. Groovy is this amazing bot that when you add it to your server, you can actually play either Spotify. You can play playlists from Spotify. You can play something from YouTube, and it would just come out as audio. It would not come out as video, in the YouTube case, but it would just come out as audio. And through Discord, it actually it plays in the channel that you're in for the whole group. Now, again, much like I always like to give my players options. Um, in this case, they can. Groovy is actually like a person in Discord. If you're familiar with Discord, when you're in a room, you can see the list of everybody's names. Groovy as a bot is also listed amongst all the people there. And if you're not sure, like that you want to actually hear the music, you can actually turn the music down. You can turn the music off. It's there, but I have that option to set mood by changing it. And all so far, everything that I've been using and I'm continuing to use is all copyright free, commercial free for use, and there are a lot of resources in that sense as well. Um, the tabletop audio is more for personal games. He does have a policy for using it for commercial use, and you just have to run things by him, or depends on the situation. It is in, I believe, is in the FAQ part of tabletop audio, but tabletop audio is mostly for is for your personal use. But absolutely support that site if you can. They do an amazing work. Some of those are just it's a chef's kiss. Mwah. It's just great ambiance brings to your players, puts them in that place. And again, it can be for whatever game you're playing. If you're playing D&D, if you're playing Call of Cthulhu, whatever tabletop game you're playing, all of these things kind of bring your players into the game a little further, kind of immerse them in the game. And that's what that's kind of what you're looking for. So that was, I mean, that's pretty much kind of like I haven't even begun to scratch the surface of all of the different things that you could actually be doing in the game. This is just the tip of the iceberg when it comes to the resources that you can find. But these are some of the things that I've used. These are some of the things that I've seen other people use successfully and wonderfully. Um, but I will say again, one of the things that is super super important um, is that you are really trying your best as a dungeon master, as a game master, as someone who wants to inspire others to go after their passions. Um, you definitely want to. You got to do your research. You got to do your homework, right? So in all of these things, when you're trying to figure out what platform you want to play on, you're trying to figure out what ambiance you want to bring. You want to figure out extensions. You want to figure out streaming, whatever it is. You got to do your due diligence. You got to go after it. Learn everything you can. Um, Look, I've only been DMing for a little over 2.5 years, right? Still learning stuff. Before that, player for years, right? I was just a player for years. Only been DMing for two. Just to kind of give you a little bit of my nerd cred, I'm gonna need this before I actually get it. That's the stuff. Um, so a little bit of my nerd cred. So even before that, I'm sure many of you might have heard of LARPing, live action role playing. Did that for many years, almost 20 years of live action role playing. Fun and shit. Not for everybody. But for me, it was like it enticed me because it was, oh, it's like a live action tabletop game. That's cool. I would like to try that, and I did that for many many years. But everything you do, whatever you're doing, you have a responsibility. If you're DMing, if you're a dungeon master, if you're a game master, you do have a responsibility to make the game as fun as possible for your players. Right? That's what any decent dungeon master or game master wants to do. Um, my personally, that's not only my number one goal, but right after that, for my players, is to make sure that all they have to worry about, even though we stream our game, all they have to worry about is just coming, playing the game. That's all. I don't want them to stress out. There's enough stress going on in the world. There's enough craziness happening right now that a game should not be adding to, right? So I have to do my due diligence. I have to do everything I can to prep the game, make sure, and trust me, that's fun for me. Bringing that fun to my players is fun for me. Coming up with scenarios, coming up with mods, 3D printing, and finding 3D prints of minis that are going to be awesome for them, that they're going to look at and go, ooh. Last game, I used my mini fogger and something that my son Polaroid Rage actually made for me to actually put fog into the battle map. I mean, those are little things that, like, little touches that you can do. Um, but that's all fun for me, right? It has to be fun for you too if you're running a game. It can't just be all fun for them. Trust me, if it starts to feel like work and you're not having fun, there's something wrong there. Believe me. All of it should always be fun. But make no mistake, it is work. It is it's a lot of hard work. But it should be equally fun for you as it is for them. But it is a responsibility. Make no mistake. You want to make sure that everyone's going to get their moment. You want to make sure that everybody's going to have a good time. You want to make sure that to the best of your ability, everyone at that table is going to walk away with something that they are going to talk about later on. Right? It doesn't even matter what it is. If it's, oh, that was a great mini, or oh my god, that battle was amazing, or did you see that fog machine? Like even, even stuff like that. Like that's the responsibility you have as a dungeon master, to make those moments happen. So yeah, it's not for everybody. Some people, I will tell people if they love being a game master or a dungeon master, but occasionally you kind of feel burnt out, or take a break. Something brought you to that moment of being a dungeon master because it was fun, and you should take a moment to breathe and find out why isn't it fun anymore, and then figure out how you can make it fun for yourself again, right? But it is a responsibility, make no mistake. So all of the things that I've kind of brought to the table today, right? What platform do we use? What do I use for ambiance? What kind of dice rolling do I use? Like these are all, like the dice rolling and the ambiance, that's all extraneous. You don't need those things to run an amazing game, right? Those things are kind of, for me, those are like icing on the cake, right? Those are things that make it a little better, but without it, it's still going to be good. That's the responsibility that, as a dungeon, as a game. And make no mistake, you are a player. If you've never heard of Matt Colville, you need to learn everything you can about it. He's like the big brother DM, right? He has been DMing for so many years. He's got amazing videos on YouTube, that you can find, and that he talks about, like, being a dungeon master, playing the game, having fun. He recently just did, I want to say in the last week and a half, 2 weeks maybe, a whole video about it needs to be fun for you as a DM too, because you are also a player at the table, and it's so true. It's so true. But I'm learning every time I play, every time I'm prepping, I'm learning a lot. I'm learning, I'm improving my own skill sets, like, and just personally, by learning more about 3D printing, because I 3D print minis for the game. So I'm learning about how 3D printers work, which is something I never thought I would do. There's a whole bunch of things, like, it just, gaming in itself, as a whole, gaming in itself brings joy. It's fun. It does something for you, kind of gets you out of your headspace a little bit. Tabletop gaming, for me, is that extra step, right? Because there's lots of different things. I have to figure out, to a certain extent, cartography, right? I have to figure out what my maps are going to look like, and make them interesting and strange. I'm writing stories. The current D&D campaign that we're doing right now, it's based in a D&D setting in Wildmount, in the Critical Role setting, actually. But I am completely writing that. That is a homebrew game based on that setting. And so I'm writing now, right? There's like all these different skills that I don't have naturally. I had to learn these things. I had to figure these things out. I had to basically come up with what things are going to look like and how this is going to work, and that took time. Those are skills that anyone can learn. Doesn't necessarily mean that you might be good at it or bad at it, but if you don't know how to do it, you just got to go for it. You got to do it, and it just kind of, it enriches you as a person, as an individual, and in turn, you are doing the same for your players. You're teaching them. Now, because I share with my players, obviously I don't share like details of the game because I don't do that. But I share with them, oh, I 3D printed this. It was so cool. And, I share the moments that I can share with them. And that also brings the table closer to, right? Brings the table, people will start to trust each other more and become closer as individuals and friends. And again, talking about building community, talking about, all of these different things. But all of these tie into exactly today's topic of the best ways to run a tabletop game. Everything I just said is the best way to run a tabletop game online. So yeah. I let my passion run away. I got on my soapbox a little bit. I hope you're all cool with that. But yeah, I really love what tabletop gaming has done for me as an individual and what that's done for my family, because like most of my family is in the game with me. It's brought me closer to friends. Um, I'm currently, I don't want to give too much away, but after the new year, there's gonna probably be a lot more gaming content this channel. Um, and it has to do with me reaching out to old friends that I haven't talked to in a long time, because all I kept seeing, like on my Facebook feed or my Twitter feed, is, man, I really want to play a game. And is anybody running a game? I'd really like to play a game. And I was like, you know what? I'm a DM. I'm kind of decent at this. And these are my friends that I haven't talked to or I haven't seen in a while. So I reached out to them, and lo and behold, I've got people who want to play games. And crazy enough, they're gonna actually let me DM. Uh, so, it's gaming can bring people together. It has brought people together. But it's also a way, if you've tried to at some point put a game together and were not successful, I would suggest try again. Somebody out there, especially now, like I can't say it, I can't stress it enough, especially now with everyone quarantining, everyone sequestering themselves at home. Really, there are people out there, they want that communication, they want that interactivity with people, and they can't have it without putting each other at risk. Reach out again, find out, hey, I'm willing to run a game, who wants to play a game? See what happens. I will say that 9 times out of 10 you're going to get a few people who are interested, right? May not happen immediately. Keep trying. Because it's not for some people, it's really not the gaming aspect, it's the social aspect. And that might just be enough to hook somebody into a game and expose them to something that they've never played before. And maybe they'll enjoy it, maybe they won't. But guess what? You are now social again. You are now interacting with people again. And it's, at the end of the day, at least for me, with tabletop gaming, that's the best part of the gaming process. Being with friends, socializing, and having a damn good time. As you can see, if you ever watched our stream, you can see us. Even though we're not all in the same room, we're all still having a blast. And I know some of my players are in the chat right now, and they can correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think I'm wrong. So that was me on my soapbox, kind of talking a little bit about best ways, tabletop online. I'd really like to hear if anybody has any questions, any comments, anything. Please feel free. I mean, that's what we're all here about. I really want to talk about what you want to talk about. I mean, granted, I wanted to give you some tips first. I wanted to kind of lay that all out there. But if anybody's got any questions, this is the time. I'll keep talking. I'm gonna keep talking, but I want to make sure. Don't feel free. Feel free to ask me some questions. Feel free to make any comments. Um, and even if it's not, like I said, even if it's not about D&D, if you play Pathfinder or Vampire, Call of Cthulhu, there are so many great games out there. We're going to be exploring some of them in the future. Right now we're at D&D, but um, I want to. I'm actually right now. Um, again, one of my goals is to expose myself to games that I've never played before, or I may not have necessarily been a dungeon master for. To challenge myself, to open up my mind to different types of games. Um, I also want to give opportunities to other people who possibly run games. And ooh, heaven forbid, I get to be a player again. Oh my god! When I became a DM, I kind of committed myself to never being a player again. That's one of the things that most game masters or dungeon masters have to do. They go, you know what? There's a good possibility I'm not gonna play a game player again. I'll just be a dungeon master for life. And yeah, so if I get that opportunity to be a player, and that would be. But yeah, that's one of my goals. I want to definitely explore other games other than Dungeons and Dragons. Again, Dungeons and Dragons, the current edition, fifth edition, amazing. They're doing some amazing things. I'm always going to keep playing this edition as much as I can, but I don't want to limit myself either. Why should I? The only reason to limit myself is because I want to. I don't want to. So there's gonna be a lot of games. Look out for them. We're definitely gonna be putting some games together. Come the new year, because we don't know where we're gonna be, as far as like the quarantine, this pandemic, and everything. But at the very least, in this little corner of Twitch, we get to uh, bring some entertainment to people. You get to share in that, and everybody gets to have a lot of fun. Again, the social aspect of that is one of the most important things. Um, yeah, so that's kind of me. I'm a soapbox. Um, let's see. I think I had take a look real quick. See if I said I could. I think that was pretty much. Yeah, that was pretty much it. I mean, I can't say enough good things about D&D Beyond either. I am not a shill, by any means, and they are definitely not sponsoring me. I wouldn't, I'm not gonna say no if they uh, but um, I can't say enough great things about D&D because again, it helped me as a player initially, because I was able to kind of understand how I should be looking at my character sheet and kind of the rules and things like that. But as a dungeon master, it's really helped me out. Um, so actually, I can show you really quickly something on D&D Beyond. One of the things I really love. It's actually a fairly new thing that they came out with. Let's see, hold out encounters. As you can see, the encounters is actually in its beta. Um, but yeah, we'll just we'll throw this up because this is already something that's happened. So you essentially, oh, we'll create a new one. Great. All right. So here's the encounters. Take a pull of this. Hold on. Oh, okay. Aku, that's actually I never knew that. I don't know. Is that true? That a group of parrots is known as a pandemonium? That's actually, you know what? That's what we're gonna do. Okay, I did not know that. So you know what? We're gonna actually name this encounter Pandemonium. All right. Um, and you know what? What we're gonna do? We're actually gonna put we're gonna put my current players in this encounter. But yeah. So let's say now yeah. So Pandemonium, since it is a group of parrots, let's say birds, bard. Okay. Actually, you know what? Let's go dangerous here. Let's go. Guess I don't have that. All right, screw it. Um, we're gonna throw a Demogorgon in this encounter. And immediately, yeah, immediately you will see an encounter summary. Now it depends on how you're playing your game. If you are playing it where your players are getting XP each battle, it actually gives you the XP for what's happening. Um, and you see this little bar right here, uh, tells you based on everybody that's in the party how dangerous this, how difficult it's going to be. And right now, it's the hard difficulty. So you all know that I have, well, you most of you know, I do have I have 7 players in my current campaign. Right? With 7 players at level 3 and 1 Demogorgon. That is a hard battle. Now, in the campaign that we're currently playing, we're doing milestone XP. So we don't do the actual the XP breakdown because it's 7 people. It is 7 people. But this does help out in what we're doing. You know what? Yeah, absolutely. I could thank you. I was spelling it wrong. I was absolutely spelling it wrong. So you know what? So now, because I absolutely want to destroy this party, you absolutely have to kill everybody. You have to throw in a Trask. Uh, so, uh, am I in person or am I online? Um, I don't know. I don't. Are you asking if we do it live? Because if yeah, we actually do a live stream of our D&D campaign on Thursdays here at 7:30 Eastern. Um, so yeah, you're more than welcome to join us. We also do have a YouTube page, so if you want to catch up on some of the games that we've already played, you can do that as well. Um, but yeah, so when you absolutely have to kill everybody in the party, why not? You go Tarask and Demogorgon. Uh, and you can see now that the difficulty has jumped to deadly. So yes, I absolutely think that the Pandemonium was the correct encounter we would call this. So now let's just with those 2 things, you save the encounter, right? Now we want to play this encounter. All right. Players have made their way to the lair of the Tarascan Demogorgon, who, for some reason, are like buddies. Like it's like a villain buddy cop movie, I guess. And so now we'll run the encounter, and this is great because so you can see would actually add everyone's initiatives, right? And then you could actually, as the DM, you could actually roll the initiative yourself, or you could have the program auto roll it for you, and it would add the bonuses and everything you want anyway. Um, right. So we're just gonna make up some numbers here. Uh, and no, that's not that would never happen. Uh, I put 34. Actually, that might happen for Rogue. Um, I've actually seen where rogues can get up to almost a 30 initiative for using various things. Let's see. Yeah. So just random numbers. Right now, you would actually start and immediately, right? It just puts everybody in the initiative order that they should be in. You can actually, let's, yeah, Tarrasques are nasty. Look at that, 676 HP. That's just freaking nasty. Um, right? So, and then as everybody goes, you hit next and you go down the line, you go down the line. You can record all of the information, how much they healed, how much damage they took, that kind of thing. And your monsters, um, let's see, yeah. Your monsters, you can click on them just very quickly to see all of their stats, see everything that they can do. Right? I mean, it's a really great tool. Again, it's in beta. Um, Thank you, Aku. Appreciate it. Um, but yeah, everything is right there for you. It's still in beta. It's still working out, like all the little all the little bugs that it has. But so far, it's great. Um, you can actually, and again, if you edit it, I didn't do it, but if you edit it, you can actually add more information. See, you click here on summary, and you can put in a little short summary. Pandemonium. Uh, yeah, I'm a bad speller. Sorry, guys. Pandemonium, a buddy cop movie. Uh, right, something. All right, and then here in the description, you can, and this is more for your notes as a DM. It'll kind of help you keep things organized. And then right here on the bottom, any treasure or rewards that they would actually get. So they somehow killed the Tarrasque, which would be crazy, even with 7 people at level 3. But somehow they killed the Tarrasque and the Demogorgon, which is nuts. And so this is where the treasures would be, and then you'd have that kind of you have that right in front of you as a DM. Really great. I mean, these tools are amazing. I also, just for myself, I also keep a pad and paper right next to me, pad of paper with a pencil, and I write stuff down and I keep that information next to me as much as possible. Oh yeah, they would absolutely jump a few levels, Aku. Yeah, no doubt, no doubt. Um, but this is something that I would do in addition to keeping notes and keeping again, a website can go down, your internet goes down as well. Um, it's always good to have that backup, that paper backup. It's always going to be something, Hell, they didn't have all this great technology when D&D first came to be. So again, all of these things are just kind of like icing on the cake. Just that little bit of extra that helps. Don't really need it, but it's good to have. So yeah, again, I love these tools. I use them all the time, as much as I can during our combat and our fights. A lot of fun, a lot of fun. But yeah, and that's like a basic. That's like one of the really great things that D&D does. And they do their own campaign as well, and they have lots of these great like little blurbs about specific things. Warlock 101, the great old one, right? That's that. If you want to know more about warlocks, if you want to run warlocks a little better, guys has some good information. Um, Pendium, homebrew content. That's the other good part of this. All of my homebrew stuff I actually keep in here. Creating my own magical items, creating my own monsters, all of that good stuff. You keep it in there. Your players will, once you make it, your players have access to it, right? So they can see that all that good stuff. It really is a lot of fun. It really is a lot of fun. Creating your characters, building encounters, just showed you building encounters. So yeah, this lot again, lots of different tools, uh, lots of different things that you can use to kind of put your game together, make things a little more fun for your players. Um, Tools are great, but again, just making sure that your players are having fun. You don't need all this stuff. These are all the bells and whistles, right? Um, Great to have all these things, but you don't need them to have a good time. It really comes down to, once again, um, building that rapport, building that community, building those relationships with your players, making sure that they're having a great time, making sure that you as a game runner are having a great time. And that's really what it's all about. So yeah. As I said earlier in the stream, one of the things that I'm going to be doing, this is going to be a continuous thing where I'm going to be kind of sharing tips, things that I wish people told me, things that I wish that I knew, um, and kind of how we do it, how I do it. The next one of these that I'm going to do is building your character. Like, how does that work? Um, and since I have D&D Beyond, that's going to be pretty easy to show you kind of like visually how that works. But and even if you don't have D&D Beyond, it's still going to be 100% necessary to know. All right, so this is how I build as a DM, how I build characters with my players. Like when they come to me with a character concept, how I work with them, and then building that player together. Let's see, picking spells for a level 20 wizard in the evocation school. So, okay, good question, Aku. So, I will probably say the way I approach it, I am very much for when it comes to DMing. For me, story first, mechanics second, right? So, my advice to you, if you in picking level 20 picking spells for your level 20 wizard would be, what journey has your wizard gone through, right? Like I know nothing about your wizard, but what is their background? Where did they come from? And what kind of experiences did they have on their way to level 20? Like, are they as an evocation wizard, are they someone that has are they quick to anger? Are they kind of impetuous? A wizard like that would definitely kind of benefit from probably fire spell, and kind of stay in that vein. But are they, maybe they're not, maybe they're very, like, say, a Spock like character, but very Vulcan, very, the emotions are buried very deep, so maybe cold spells would be a way to go. I would very much say, look at that journey, figure out the journey that character, and that will probably inform you better than anything else what spells that level 20. What were they trying to achieve? Did they actually achieve it, or did their goals change mid journey? In their ascent to level 20. That's how I would approach it. That's what I would advise to my characters, to my players. But at the end of the day, also, it is your character, right? What's going to be fun for you? What are you going to have the most fun with playing in the game at level 20? Um, what are you? What are the types of things that are going to not just make it fun for you, but what's going to make it fun for the rest of the players at the table, right? Sometimes those are the best spells, are the spells that affect the other players in the game, not necessarily negatively. But like, for example, the last campaign that I ran was that we had an evocation wizard, and it was almost kind of the classic fireball, fireball, fireball wizard, right? Where that was, as soon as he got fireball, like that was the thing. But because he was an evocation specialist and he had spell shaping, that made some for some really crazy stuff, especially when they didn't know, when the other players didn't know he had that ability. So all of a sudden they're seeing this fireball come at them, and then all of a sudden they're unaffected by the spell, but they're seeing this chaos all around them, and creatures being incinerated and burned and horribly disfigured, and they're okay. That makes for some great story. That makes for some great role play. So yeah, absolutely. Like just supporting people in the game, your fellow players as well as yourself, is the best way to play a game. I honestly, that's always an issue that game masters and dungeon masters have, is they want to make sure that everybody has their moment, but that is not necessarily the mentality of the players at the table. So it is that is another responsibility of a game master, to not force that onto the players, but encourage it consistently. Um, Encourage them to always think about not only their fun, but the fun of the people around. That is absolutely a responsibility of the player. I always say the dungeon master, like anybody, should be leading by example. And so the more the dungeon master does that and encourages that, it will eventually become, unless you've got a pretty ornery or nasty person sitting at the table with you, that usually your players will start to understand that mechanic and understand that actually makes the game a lot more fun and a lot better, and they'll start doing it. But I say, yeah, every now and then you do have a player that it's all about them, and it's they want to win D&D, which again is one of those crazy things, but it happens. Again, if you're doing your due diligence as a dungeon master, hopefully you don't get too many of those experiences or too many of those players. There's room for those players at other tables, not necessarily mine. But yeah, lead by example, absolutely. Encourage, and I always encourage everybody at my table. Hey, have your fun, but remember, there's other people at the table too. That's We're building a story together. The mechanics are running with dice, to kind of make things different at different moments and intervals, but everybody's there to have fun and create a story together, as well as have fun with this game. Min maxing like that should stay in video games. There is a place for that, Bimroth, for D&D. Absolutely. Like, yeah, there's lots of players. There's players who like to min max. There are players who enjoy the role play aspect, that they'll actually pick a class or a race, or a race and a class that don't necessarily mix well for the role play aspect. There's room for those kind of players at every table. For me, it's about the attitude at the table. So even if they are a min-maxer, or if they're a role player that just that creates a crazy character just for the hell of it, the attitude for me is the most important thing. Are you doing it to have fun, or are you doing it to screw over your fellow players because that's fun for you? Right? That's the attitude I'm looking for when it comes to those kind of things. It's not necessarily bad to be a min-maxer. It's not great if, like, everybody's a role player and then there's just one min-maxer. That could be a little weird. But it's really about the attitude of the players at the table. I don't like to discourage people from following what's fun for them. A min-maxer might be fun for them. But if they start doing it to screw somebody else over at the table. Uh, no bueno, no bueno at all. Um, yeah, no, yeah. I try not to Aku. I try not to saturate what I'm doing. And again, I'm actually fairly new at this also. And when I say fairly new, I mean streaming. Um, I just figure, there's people like me out there who, hey, there's sometimes, like, don't get me wrong, like I'll go on a deep dive on Twitch or YouTube, looking for DM advice and people at the table or whatever, and I get intimidated by a lot of this, like, as you said, just saturated with so much information, and I'm never going to remember it all, obviously, but I'm like, well, what would have helped me, right? What would have helped me with all of this? And so that's kind of how I'm trying to come across with this, is kind of keep it short, sweet, condensed a little bit, because again, you need a foundation, right? You need a foundation, a jumping off point. All the other stuff will come in time. I can tell you, like all of those other YouTube videos and all those other Twitch streamers who talk about being a dungeon master, and this is how you do this and how you do that. There's so much good information, but it's like, okay, but can you just tell me how to start? Can you tell me, like, what I need as my foundation? And I figured out, okay, these are the things. This is how you start. This is how you get the ball rolling. And I'm learning, and I'm seeing what they said in those videos. I'm starting to see those things for myself. I'm starting to understand. But we all need a foundation. We all need a jumping off point. So that's what this is. That's what this is about. And I'm glad this is helping you. I'm glad this is at the very least you're. Again, my hope is that everybody gets something out of this. And so, yeah, it is. Yeah, let's see. This is how I feel when I watch Martin, and you sometimes too. Yeah, the creativity of your game is out of this world. Thank you so much, Southern. Let me tell you something. At the end of every campaign, and my players can confirm this, every time we finish our game and the stream is ended, one of the first things I say is, did everybody have a good time? Right? And I am always, always worried. I'm concerned more than worried, but I'm always concerned that, I didn't do something right. I left something out. I didn't describe something enough, right? And thankfully, my players, this is our third campaign together. They still having a good time. I'm obviously doing something right, but I'm still always concerned with that. Always concerned. Yeah, no, absolutely, Aku. I mean, that is, especially when you hit level 20. You definitely, it's like there's a lot of good spells. There's a lot of things to choose from. But that's why my advice was to really think of it in terms of the story, of the journey that your character has gone through, because that will help you pick through all of the good stuff, right? It's all good, right? There's so many good things, but that will actually help you a little bit, in narrowing down your choices. Because yeah, otherwise you're just looking at it and you go, what do I do? I want it all. I don't know what to pick. It does get overwhelming. It does get overwhelming. But yeah, just that's I will always give that advice of think of your journey. That will help you narrow it down. And even after thinking about your journey, if you feel that's not helping you, I mean, hell, just say, you know what? I'm only gonna pick two. I'm gonna pick two choices, and then we'll go from there, right? And you'll know after a while. Like, there's this somebody, I forget who it was, that just recently I heard somebody say, right? You pick two things, right? And then you do eeny, meeny, miny, mo, right? And when you get to the actual end of it, if you land on something, you'll immediately know if you really want it or not, or if you wanted the other, right? It's weird, but it's very true, right? You'll know it's like, oh yeah, yeah, okay, that was the thing. Or if you go, no, I really wanted the other thing, boom, you just made your choice, right? It's weird, but that was something I heard somebody recently say. That is very true. But it can be overwhelming. And again, it's a game. It's about having fun. Don't let it overwhelm you so much that you lose sight of that. That it could happen. It can easily happen. You get so into the game and it's so much fun. You get so involved. And again, it could be you're a min-maxer and you want to make sure that your character is spec'd out to its utmost, right? And it starts to stress you out. Or you could be a role player. It's like, no, I really want the journey of my character to be, up front. And oh, which one do I pick? Because this one is good, and then but this one is not. And you get stressed out about it. Take a step back. Take a deep breath. Count to 10. Take a cleansing breath, right? And remember, it's a game. What's going to give you the most fun? What's going to give you the most joy, right? Go with that. That's really what it should come down to, right? Just have fun. Have fun with it. That's don't stress out of it. It's a game. It's a game. Right? Remind yourself. Sometimes you might just have to say, nope, it's a game. It's a game. But yeah, do that for yourself. Take that step back if you need to, and put it to the side. Don't think about it for a day, or a couple of hours, or what have you. Something, an amount of time, and just come back to it. Figure it out. Right? Um, yeah, metagaming can be a thing as well. I occasionally have to remind my players not to do it. It happens. It happens. Yeah, no, you're very welcome, Aku. Very welcome. This is why. Again, this is one of the main reasons I'm doing this. That to help anybody who needs it. Um, yeah, metagaming can be an issue. It's like anything. If you do it accidentally, as long as you catch yourself and you learn from that, it's okay. It's not a problem. Oh man, I met a game that shit. You know what? I'm sorry, and then you just move on from it. Just don't dwell on it. Try not to dwell on it. If you do it all the time, now maybe you have to ask yourself, well, why are you doing it so much? And start. And again, this is when I was saying you have your paper and your pencil next to you. Make notes. This is what I know. This is what my character knows. Right? And then just refer to it every now and then. It's not always going to be your turn. Sometimes, you know this more than most people. Anybody who plays tabletop knows the spotlight is not always on you. There's always things happening with other players that give you a little bit of time to look through your character sheet, to look through your notes. Maybe that might be a thing, that just having that little thing. I know this, my character knows it. Just to kind of remind yourself, and then that will help. Eventually, you might not need the pad. But if maybe you need that now, that's maybe a good option. There's a couple of things you can do, but that might be a suggestion there. But yeah, it's all of these things. Look, again, we are people. We are all fallible. We all make mistakes. The important thing, whether again in your personal life, in your professional life, or your gaming, the important thing is to learn from those mistakes and then move on as best you can. That's it. Make a mistake in the game, move on. As a DM, I have made so many mistakes. There are DMs, professional DMs, the DMs, Matt Mercer, Satine Phoenix, Matt Colville, people like stars in the industry, like these awesome mega DMs. They still make mistakes, right? All of these people, like it's a learning process, but we're all people. I mean, it's gonna happen. To say that it won't happen is a lie. These things do happen and will continue to happen. Just do your best to move on from them and keep having fun. I've made some mistakes as a DM in my campaigns, and I've made sure that my players know, hey, this is where I screwed up. Sorry about that. You know what? Let's move on, and then we just move on from it. Fine. But again, the important thing is to try not to beat yourself up about it, not to stress out about it. Just realize that it happened. Apologize if you need to. You really don't have to. Just if you acknowledge it, that's usually enough. And then learn from it. That's the most important thing. Learn from it. So you do your best to try and not, so it doesn't happen again. That's pretty much it. Yes, absolutely, Southern. Absolutely. Best thing to do as a DM, own that mistake, work it into the game, learn from it, try not to make it. Absolutely. 100%. 100%. Couldn't say it better myself. 100%. You really want to make sure that, again, your players, there are DMs out there that they DM for the wrong reasons. And some of them do it for like a power trip. I am the god of this world and I have complete control over these players and blah, blah, blah. There are some bad DMs that do that, right? Those are DMs they don't have regular games, and that's the reason why they don't, right? They don't learn from those mistakes. They were like, no, I don't make any mistakes, and they will argue with a player sometimes, or they will shut that player down in terrible ways. And I do my best. Oh my god, I do my best to make sure I'll never be a DM like that. But they exist. But no, you're absolutely 100% Southern. Got to make sure I'm not infallible. I am a person. I made this mistake. This is how we'll fix it. Let's move on, and I'll try not to do it again. All you can do. All you can do. So, yeah. Thank you. Yeah. So, I mean, I think this is about. Again, if anybody has any questions or comments, I'm loving this. Like, this is great. I'm loving this interactivity, and that I'm able to actually give some advice that'll help others. Hey, Lady Poopsie. For anybody doesn't know, that's my oldest daughter. Lady Poopsie. She's also on our D&D game. She plays Jarena. But yeah. So look, as I said, I'm gonna try and make this a continuous thing. Probably gonna do this. I'm looking to do this every other Sunday. Because as I said, I have things in the works for other games and such in the new year that I'm currently working on. So as much as I'd like to be on as more, I just don't have the time, unfortunately. So what I'm gonna say is this will be, I believe, not next Sunday, but the following Sunday is the 9th, I believe. Yes, it's the 29th. So if you haven't followed the channel yet, please follow us so you can keep up with us with our schedules. The one thing that we do consistently every week, every Thursday, our D&D campaign. It's at 7:30 Eastern time in the evening, 7:30 p.m. Please join us if you want to catch up on all the ones that you've missed so far. We do have a YouTube channel that has all of those pages up there. Please go to the YouTube channel, subscribe on the YouTube channel, and join our Discord as well. All of the things that I talked about today, all of the links, all of that stuff will come to it, and will be in there. Yeah, no, absolutely. We will not be, the only Thursday we will not be streaming will be the Thanksgiving week, which is not next week but the following week. But we're going to be making announcements. Just follow our Discord, join our Discord, follow this page, and we'll make sure that you get the updates. I'm on Twitter. I'm on the Twitters, and I'm on the Instagrams as well. But yeah, just join. Follow us. We would love to see you there. And join us for the D&D game. So next Talking with the DM. I got my streams mixed up for a minute. Next Talking with the DM will be Sunday on the 29th. Same time, 6 p.m. And we'll be talking about building your own character, right? And how you act, how as a DM, as a dungeon master, I actually build characters with. We're going to talk, that'll be like talking about backgrounds, feats, where you kind of envision your character, what you want to look for your character, with your background, all that good stuff. But we'll also be getting into an actual character sheet and actually building a character too. All right, so hope to see you there. If you can't make it for that, hope to see you for a D&D game. I also stream old video games also, so that's every other Saturday as well. So that's going to be 28th at 4:30 p.m. Playing the game Deadpool. Just look at the video. If you like the game Deadpool, it's ridiculous as you think it is. But with that, I want to thank all of you for watching. The raid that came in, all of you beautiful people who came in and followed, everybody who's still here and who's watching. Aku, Spooky, thank you for the follow. Zero, that's my son-in-law. Thank you for gifting subs. Night Raven, Storm Fox, Max Fish, Potato Joseph, Synthetic Ducky, Sensei Suplex. Again, I freaking love these names. Thank you so much for coming and joining. We hope that you continue to follow us and follow me in this crazy thing that I'm doing. Take care of yourself. Take care of each other. Be good to yourself. Be good to others. We'll see you next time.